Dee Halevi, and I will be asking you some questions today.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. What is your full name?
Matt O'Donnell.
And what is your mother's full name?
It is Christine Paul.
How old are you?
I'm 37.
And what is your height and weight?
I am 6'3" and about 250 pounds.
Do you live with your mother currently?
Yes,
And do you have a job? Are you working?
I do.
What is that?
I'm a manager at a Radio Shack.
Okay. Do you have any physical disabilities?
No, I do not.
Have you ever?
No, I mean, I broke my arm once when I was a kid, but that was temporary.
Do you have any problems at all standing or walking?
No,
Have you ever?
no,
Do you have any problems with your hearing?
no, I do not.
Are you taking any medication currently?
No, nothing regularly.
Is your mother?
At the time, she was on Percocet, but I don't know what prescription she has on a daily basis.
So right now she is not taking the Percocets?
I don't believe so, but I don't know.
But you live together, so do you ever see her taking medication during the day?
No, I don't pay attention.
Do you currently have a valid driver's license?
I do.
For what state?
Michigan.
Have you ever been arrested before?
No, I have not.
Have you ever witnessed anybody getting arrested?
Objection to violence.
I just want to know if he's ever seen an arrest being taken.
I think once, but I was in a car and it was passing, looked like someone was getting arrested on the side of the road.
So you've never been with somebody when?
No,
Are you currently on probation or parole?
no,
Objection. Violence.
Have you ever been treated for anger management?
no, I have not.
Has your mother?
Objection. Violence.
It might be relevant.
Not that I know of.
Is your mother on probation or parole?
Objection. Violence.
Not that I know of.
And how do you feel about police officers in general? Do you have any specific,
Objection.
could be relevant?
I don't have strong feelings either way. I'm got a sour taste in my mouth after this, but in general, no strong feelings.
Okay. So if you don't have a problem with police officers in general, is there a reason why you didn't comply with the arrest the night of February 20th?
I think I did comply, so I'm not quite sure.
Have you ever been in a fight before?
Objection. Violence.
I don't know how to answer the question. A physical fight?
Yes, a physical fight.
Yeah, when I was a kid. I mean, I fought with other kids.
Do you know what age, do you remember what age you were?
I was probably not a teenager, maybe fought a couple times as a teenager, but
A couple of times?
yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's been a long time and it's not something I remember very well.
Okay. So turning to the night of February 20th, 2017, which was the day you were arrested, do you remember what time you woke up that morning?
Just for clarification, I was not arrested on the 20th. I was arrested on the 21st,
I'm
which was
sorry.
a Sunday morning. I'm sorry, what was the question?
What time did you wake up that morning?
It was a Saturday. I think I slept in probably till 9:30-ish.
Were you drinking before the incident?
We had gone out to a restaurant and I had been drinking, yes.
What restaurant?
We went to Earl's Restaurant.
How many drinks did you have?
I don't really remember. We were there for, I think, over 5 hours. I maybe had 2 drinks, max 3, but I know it was not more than 3.
You told Officer Dennehy that night that you had a big glass of Diet Coke. Do you remember saying that?
I believe I told her when she asked if I had been drinking, and I said yes, 32 ounces of Diet Wild Cherry Pepsi, which is what I had been drinking at the restaurant.
Then why didn't you tell her you had other drinks that night as well?
Well, she asked if I had been drinking, and I knew she was implying alcohol, and I was not drunk. I was completely sober, so I thought it was ridiculous.
So that was just a sarcastic comment you were saying.
But yeah, I would say good-natured sarcasm, but
Do you know why you got pulled over that night?
yes, the officer told me that she had seen me cross the yellow lines, I think she said 3 times since she had followed me from a red light, which is not true.
Do you drink on a daily basis?
No, I do not.
Does your mother?
No, and she wasn't drinking at all in that time period in February because she was prescribed Percocet, and you cannot drink with that.
If there were other people in the car that night, correct?
Correct.
And who were they?
My mother and my 2 sisters,
Their names, please.
Kelly and Nora.
And how old are they?
Nora is 32, Kelly is 35.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
You will?
Hi, my name is Rishon Kulat, and I'll be continuing your deposition. Continuing off my colleague, why couldn't anyone else drive the car that night?
Well, my sisters, Nora and Kelly, they were drunk. They had been drinking quite heavily, and my mother had just recently had shoulder surgery. So she probably could have driven, but it would have been very uncomfortable and not good for her recovery.
Sure. So during the time of the incident, why would you say that Officer Dennehy pulled you over?
At the time, I didn't know why. She explained it and said that she had seen me cross the yellow line.
And which you claim that you didn't, right?
I did not.
You did not, okay. How fast would you say you were driving during the time the officer pulled you over?
Well, I saw Officer Dennehy pull behind me at a red light after we had left Earl's Restaurant, and so I knew she was behind me. Speed limit is 65, so I went 65.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, do you know the area and the location where the officer pulled you over?
The area on the road, or
The highway and the city?
yeah, I mean, it was in Ann Arbor on Route 14.
Okay. And let's see. Where were you standing in relation to the cars when Officer Dennehy pulled you over? Like, where were you? Which side of the door were you in when the officer actually pulled you out and started to arrest you?
She took me from the driver's side.
And no other location? Did you maybe switch locations with any other passengers, like go and talk to any other passengers before the arrest?
No, we didn't talk to each other after we were pulled over.
Okay. Are you the owner of the vehicle that you were driving?
Yes.
And are you the only registered driver, or are there other registered drivers besides you?
I'm the only registered driver.
Okay. Did you have any alcoholic drinks before you decided to drive with the other passengers at the time?
Yes.
How many drinks did you say you had?
As I already said, I had 2 drinks, maybe 3, definitely not more than 3.
Okay. Now, what would you say your relationship is with the passengers in the car?
Well, they're my family.
Specifically, can you state the relationship with all 3 passengers?
Christine Paul is my mother, Nora and Kelly are my sisters.
Okay. Now, why were you driving so late at night?
We had a birthday party, a surprise party for my mother on Saturday night at Earl's.
Okay. Thanks. So, what would you say your eyes were like when the officer pulled you over?
My eyes?
Your eyes, yes.
Open.
I mean, were they watery? Were they teary in any way?
I think they were normal.
They were normal. Were you slurring your speech when the officer pulled you over?
No.
Okay. I mean, the officer on record claims that you were, so I'm just trying to confirm the facts. Did you refuse to take the breathalyzer test when the officer asked you to?
I wouldn't say I refused. I asked why and wanted an explanation of what was happening.
Okay. Would you say that you started yelling really loudly when the officer asked you to take the test?
I don't believe I was yelling. I may have raised my voice.
Would you consider raising your voice to be a little rude, maybe even non-compliant to the officer?
Um, yeah, sure. I think raising your voice can be rude, but I think the officer's conduct was rude as well.
So just to confirm, did the officer ask you to step out of the car before requesting you to take the test?
Yeah, so the officer asked me to step out of the car and then told me to blow into her hand, and that's when I asked why.
Okay. And were you aware at the time of the incident that refusing to take the breathalyzer test is valid grounds for arrest?
No, I was not, and I don't believe I was refusing.
Okay. When the officer pulled you over and asked you to step out, did he explain that the handcuffs and frisking were standard procedure?
I don't recall. It happened very quickly. I was very flustered by the whole thing.
Okay. Now, my colleagues have asked you this question as well, but I'm going to rephrase it. When you said that, yeah, I've been working on a 32 ounces of Diet Cherry Coke to the officer, when the officer asked you if you've been drinking, would you say that comment was, the way you said it was sarcastic?
I thought it was good-natured because I was totally sober, and I thought that was very clear.
Okay. But would you consider that, I mean, even if it wasn't good-natured, would you say that the officer might have taken that to be sarcastic,
Objection,
rude?
speculation.
It's relevant because the
That's
officer.
speculation.
Were you aware of the distance that Christine Paul, the plaintiff, was from the officer during the time of the arrest?
She was in the car as far as I knew, and then I saw that she had stepped out at some point.
Okay. So if you were to measure the distance approximately, would you have any idea, numerically speaking?
Between my mom and me, or my mom and the officer?
Between your mom and you, and then also between the officer and your mom?
Well, the officer had taken me to the front of the police car. I don't know, maybe 15 feet.
Okay. And wouldn't, sorry, can I, well, yeah. Wouldn't such a distance be close enough for a projectile weapon to be launched, in your opinion?
Objection, speculation.
Not speculation, it's related to the officer's concern that you might have been in danger when you were reaching for item in your jacket.
I don't know what a projectile weapon means.
Well,
exactly.
it's a weapon that's launched from a distance.
Okay, we need to go back.
Good morning.
My name is Jasmine Perez, and I'm gonna continue with the deposition. How are you?
Good.
Can you please describe your relationship with your mom?
Well, she's my mother. I live with her. We get along pretty well.
How's your mom's health? You previously mentioned that she had some shoulder problems. Did she have any other health issues?
She's generally pretty healthy. She had a lot of issues with her shoulder and had surgery not long before this incident in February.
Can you describe what was your mother's reaction when she saw the police patrol?
When she first saw the officer at the
Yes.
light, or when we were pulled over?
When you guys were pulled over?
She didn't say anything. We all seemed pretty calm because nothing was really happening in the car that made us see a reason to get pulled over.
What was your mother's reaction when you were asked to stop the car?
She was calm.
How long have you been driving?
Since I was a teenager, so decades.
Do you have any videos of that day, any pictures that you all took during the time that you spent together at the bar?
I'm sure there's quite a few actually, because it was a surprise party, so it was not just me and my family. There were some other friends and family there as well, and I know we did take at least a few photos together.
When you say we, does that mean that you all had cell phones with you?
Yes.
The four of you?
Yes.
Can you please state What's your mom's profession?
My mom?
Yeah,
Um,
it is relevant. I want to know if your mom has to deal with situations of pressure, if she has to do any work, heavy work-related efforts.
she does administrative work part-time at a dentist office.
Thank you. Can you please describe your mom's character?
Her character?
Yes. Please go ahead and answer the question.
I mean, I'm pretty biased. I think she's pretty fun and nice.
Can you state what Christine Paul said to Officer Dennehy once you stopped the car?
At what point?
When you were outside of the car with Officer Dennehy?
I'm not really sure what she said. I just know it was something. I think she said she was going to get her phone out, and that's kind of all she got out before she was tased the first time.
So she said that she was going to get her phone out?
Yeah, I did hear that.
Okay, thank you. Did Officer Dennehy reply? Did she talk to your mom when she said she was going to get her phone out?
Not that I recall.
When you refused to take the breathalyzer, what was Christine's reaction?
She was still in the car. I didn't hear her, and I couldn't see her. I wasn't facing her, so I'm not sure.
After you stepped out of the car, you were not able to see Christine anymore?
No, I was facing the officer.
Okay. How much time would you say that you spent with Officer Dennehy? Outside of the car before your mom stepped out of the car?
I mean, less than a minute. I think the whole thing from stepping out of the car to the second tasing happened in under 5 minutes, so it was very quick.
And once she was outside of the car, were you able to see her?
Yes.
How was your visibility?
I could see her just fine. I mean, there was a car. I was in front of the police officer's car, and she was at the passenger door of my car, but I could see mostly everything.
How much time did she spend outside of the car before Officer Dennehy tased her for the first time?
For the first time,
Yes.
maybe 10 seconds.
Did she mention that she was stepping out of the car to Officer Dennehy?
Not that I recall.
Did you see when your mom reached inside her jacket?
I did.
What was your thought when you saw her?
Well, I had heard her say that she was getting her phone. She reached for the pocket where she keeps her phone. So,
Can you please describe Christine's reaction to the first taser?
yeah, her face just crumpled up. I mean, it must have been very painful, and she kind of doubled over as if someone had kind of punched her in the stomach. But then, she stood back up after that.
At any moment was Christine yelling to your siblings?
Not that I recall.
Can you please describe her reaction after the second tasing?
After the second tasing, she fell down to the ground, and if I remember right, I think she passed out from the pain.
How close were you to your mom when the second tasing occurred?
It was the same distance. She was still at the passenger's door, roughly, and I was still at the front of the officer's car.
So you never moved from your initial position?
No, I maybe took a couple of steps, but basically the same spot.
Did you said anything when you noticed that she was gonna be tased the first time?
The first time?
Yes.
No, I didn't know she was going to be tased the first time.
Did you said anything when you noticed that she was gonna be tased the second time?
Yeah, absolutely, because the officer was trying to put my mom's hands behind her back to cuff her, to arrest her, and she just had shoulder surgery, so I told her, hey, watch out, don't move her arm like that, watch her shoulder. And then right after that, the second tasing happened.
Thank you.
I'm David. I'm continue after these questions.
Okay.
Do you believe that you have a very clear recollection of everything that happened that night?
I do. It happened very quickly, so I mean, there are pieces that I might not have picked up on, but I think for the most part, I remember things
What pieces do
accurately.
you think you not picked up on?
Maybe particular phrasings of who said what, but generally I know what was said and what was done.
You mentioned earlier in your testimony that you were frustrated with Officer Denley arresting you. You sort of got into an argument, is that correct, about the breathalyzer test or whether or not you were a smart ass, is what Officer Denley said in her testimony.
We talked about it because she wanted me to take the test, and I asked why, and she told me said so, and I said I wanted an explanation as to why, and that's when she told me that she could do whatever she wanted, and that she could give me whatever test she wanted, and if I didn't take it, then she would arrest me for DWI.
So you were frustrated with Officer Denley. You've just been arrested. You were handcuffed, correct? Police headlights were on, correct?
Correct. The lights were on.
The blue lights were on, is that correct?
Yes.
Your mother was starting to argue with Officer Denley or getting out of the car, is that correct?
She got out at some point, yes.
Would you describe everything as chaotic at that point? You said things happened very quickly.
Sure, yeah, it could be described as chaotic.
And you had been drinking earlier that night.
I had.
And yet you have a clear recollection of all of the details, except for maybe some phrasing. Is that your testimony?
I think largely what happened, I remember correctly.
Now, these events took place in the middle of the night, I think 1 in the morning, somewhere around that time.
Right, I was pulled over, I looked at my clock, it was 12:58 in the morning.
Now, I think you previously testified that you were in front of the police car.
Yes,
Okay, and the police car's headlights were on, you testified, and the blue lights were on, and your mother was in front of your car on the passenger side?
I wouldn't say she was in front of, she stepped out of the passenger door.
On the passenger side.
So she was on the passenger side.
And would that be a bit confusing and disorienting for somebody intoxicated or had been drinking the night before?
Would what be confusing?
The lights on a dark street and the blue lights going and the arguments going on, would that be disorienting at all?
The headlights on the car made it very easy to see everything that was happening, and I was not intoxicated.
Did you speak to your mother about what happened after the fact, after being processed at the police station, or in the weeks after?
Sure, we talked about it.
Have you coordinated any of your story with hers?
No, absolutely not.
You have,
We've not gone through the event together.
you haven't what?
We have not talked through what happened that night in full together. We've just reflected on the aftermath.
But you're fairly close to your mother,
Yes,
and you both went through this sort of traumatic event together, and you did not speak about this at all after the fact?
I did not say we didn't speak about it at all.
You didn't,
I did not.
but you did. So you did talk to her about this after the fact?
Yes,
Okay. And yet there was no coordination about making sure stories match up?
we talked about it. We did not coordinate.
Is it possible that some of your recollections of what happened that night may have been influenced by conversations that you had with your mother after the fact?
I don't think it's impossible, but I don't think that's the case here.
Where was your mother when she stepped out of the car? You said on the passenger side, is that correct?
When she stepped out,
This was already estimated.
No, he can ask us
He can
many
ask
times.
us.
They can ask
Sure.
questions many times.
And your mother was wearing a jacket, is that correct?
correct.
What kind of jacket, coat?
It was like a quilted, poofy overcoat, like a
What-
winter coat.
Was it open, closed?
Yes, it was open.
Partially zipped?
It was open.
It was, and
As
what
far
was
as
she
I
wearing
know.
under it?
I think she had on a Michigan sweatshirt and probably, I think, a t-shirt under that.
Okay. And the taser, one of the prongs of the taser hit her and the other one did not, is that correct?
In the first tasing?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I think that's what she says, and I think her injury, I think she just has one mark from the first
Yeah,
tasing.
so, but you didn't see it?
No,
Okay. And, and your mother, as you understand it, pulled the barb off, threw it in a ditch, correct?
it's my understanding, yes.
And then she doubled over in pain afterwards, yelling about pain, is that correct?
I wouldn't say afterwards, it kind of happened at the same time.
But you did
She
see
was-
this?
She was doubled over in pain
You
from the
saw
first
this?
tasing, yes.
Okay, but you didn't see the tasing, but you saw her doubled over?
I couldn't tell how many prongs went into her.
It was just a clarification. And was she still reaching into her inside pocket while she was doubled over?
Not that I could tell.
Now, sometimes the questions can be confusing, but would you like to recharacterize any of your prior testimony about what you may have seen or been influenced after the fact, after talking to your mother?
No.
Perfect.
Okay, good job, you guys. Is there, since, and just in this, because this is the only chance we've got, do any of the other groups have any questions that they want him to answer that, yeah,
So, when the officer began to place you under arrest, did she at any point put her hand down your pants?
Yeah,
And if
she
did. What was the purpose of that?
she frisked me and it was really aggressive. I think more than what an officer should do. She put her hands in my front and back pants pockets and put her hand in my pants and up my shirt.
Okay, and when you say she frisked you, could you clarify what your definition of frisk is?
I mean, she patted me down my whole body and really touched every part of my body.
Okay, so you believe that she was searching your body?
It seemed like more than searching, and she actually tried to hit on me and told me that I looked like I had been working out. So I think there was something more than just searching.
yes, Eric?
You testified earlier that the officer asked you to get a breathalyzer, correct?
Yes.
Did you give the breathalyzer?
No, I was arrested before the test
Did
was
you give a
given.
breathalyzer at the station?
Yes.
And what was the result of that breathalyzer?
I do not know.
You don't have any knowledge of what the result was, one way or the other?
No.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I have two questions. You have mentioned that the officer was, well, can you tell me where the officer was when he was driving on the road? Was he in front of you, behind you, left, right, side?
When we were still driving,
Yes,
behind me.
he was behind you. And you had mentioned that you were able, well, how did you gauge the speed of the officer when he was behind you? Because you had mentioned that the officer was doing 65 miles an hour. I'm just trying to determine how did you gauge that?
I was going 65 miles an hour, and they were directly behind me.
Okay, one more, or two more, that's it.
Do you recall hearing the officer give any warnings to your mother before either tasing?
Before the second tasing, I think she shouted something like, "Don't move."
But no warning specific, like,
Oh,
you know,
no,
I'm
nothing about
going
a
to tase
taser.
you again, or
No.
anything referring to tasing?
No.
Okay, Jim?
Was Ms. Paul wearing any kind of brace or any indication that would show Officer Dennehy that there is some kind of surgery that happened?
Not that I recall. If she had anything, it was probably under her clothes.
But not visible?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you so much.